it's another sweet challenge. It's profiteroles or chocolatey eclairs. So people get very scared when they talk about choux pastry because it's quite different to other pastries. While the rules for most pastry is you keep everything cold, in this particular one it's heat that's used as the raising agent. So you generate steam and then that works as the raising agent in the oven. They are quite technical. You have to be accurate with the ingredients. You can't be a gram or two out with these, and you have to follow timing carefully because if you don't, they won't work. But there's nothing nicer than a successful homemade profiterole. They really are delicious. So it's quite a technical challenge this week. So I'm sure you'll rise to the occasion. So we'll go and have a look now at the ingredients and the equipment that you need. The ingredients we need this week then are 120 millilitres of water in a pot, and I've added a pinch of salt to that. You need 65 grams of flour, and we have that in greaseproof paper so that we can add that to the saucepan all in one go later on. We have 50 grams of butter. I've chopped that up to speed up the melting. We have 2 eggs which I've already beaten. So there are all the ingredients for the choux pastry, which is what we're making this week, CHOUX. And we need 200 millilitres of fresh cream, which we're going to beat later for the filling in the profiteroles. And then we have 100 grams in chocolate in a bowl over a pot of water. And again, we don't want the base of the bowl to touch the water. And that's the last part of the dish we'll be doing later. You also need a mixing bowl and have a ready prepared tray lined with parchment paper. So the first part of this dish is to melt the butter and the water together in a pot. And the reason I'm cutting up the butter into evenly sized pieces is that it will all melt at the same time. Because while you're melting this butter, you don't want to boil the water vigorously because you don't want to evaporate off any of the water, because that will reduce the volume of liquid that you're dealing with. So we're just going to melt that gently. So this has come to what we call a rolling boil, if you can see the bubbles that are in it. And now I'm going to add the flour to that, and the flour all needs to be added in one go. And then you mix that. I'm going to take it off the heat for a minute, just until we mix in all the flour. And this looks like an unsightly mess at the moment. Just be patient with it. So eventually it will all come together in the middle of the pot and come away from the sides. So we're going to put it back onto the heat for about a minute to cook the mixture. So this is all, it's all coming away from the sides of the saucepan. So we need to cool this a little bit now because we have to add eggs to it, and we know that we can't add eggs or hot mixture to eggs or we're going to end up scrambling it. So now we need leave the mixture to cool in the bowl, and that's going to take a few minutes. Now at this stage it would be a good idea to put it on the oven, so we're preheating the oven to 180 degrees Celsius. So we've let this cool a little bit, and at this stage now we're going to start adding the egg, and you add that very slowly, and each time you add egg you need to mix it until it all comes back together again. Now it does look like an awful mess at this stage, but eventually it'll come together for you. You just need to keep beating it, and you can use an electric whisk to do this, or you can use a balloon whisk, or you can use the wooden spoon. So each time it comes back together, just add another little bit of egg, and it'll go back to the same mess, but you just mix it back together. Now you may not need all the egg, you'll know yourself. What we're looking for is this that turns into a nice glossy ball that all comes together in the middle of the bowl. So this is the kind of texture that we're looking for. Okay, and it's got nice and shiny. So if you were going to make chocolate eclairs out of this, you can put this into a piping bag, and obviously you'd pipe lengths of it onto your baking tray. But we're not this week, we're just going to make profiteroles out of it. And profiteroles are just the same mixture, it's just a ball shape rather than a sausage shape. So you put even sized balls of the mixture onto the baking tray, and continue like that until you use up all the mixture. And keep them spaced apart because they will spread a little bit in the oven. So try and get an even number if you can. Okay, and just continue on like that. When you're piping these onto the tray or putting them on with a spoon, try and keep them all the same size because you want them all to be cooked at the same time. So we're going to place these in the oven now for 25 minutes. And after 25 minutes, we'll come back and check them, and they should blow up into lovely, puffed up, empty little mounds. After 25 minutes, we take them out. We pierce each of them with a skewer to put a little hole in them to let the steam escape, and then we put them back into the oven for 5 minutes to dry out. These have been baking now for 25 minutes, and look at how much they've risen up. So the steam that was generated in them has risen and has pushed up the dough, and what we've got now are beautiful hollow balls of dough. So we need to take them out and skewer them. I'm just going to put a little hole in each of them to let the steam escape, and then we're going to put them back in to finish the cooking. Let's just put a little hole in the side of them. So another bit of magic this week. You saw the ingredients we started off with, and now look what we have. And these only get better from this stage on. So back into the oven now for another 5 minutes, just to firm them up and set the shape. So these have been cooking now for about 5 minutes, and we just left them in there to dry out and to firm up. So I think they're just about perfect now. Switch off the oven. And we're going to leave those to cool. Now you can transfer them onto a wire rack if you like to speed up the cooling. Can't do anything with them now because they're warm. So leave them to cool, and then we're going to fill them with fresh cream and pour some chocolate sauce over them. While the pastry is cooling, then you can get on with making the chocolate sauce and whipping up the cream. So to make the chocolate sauce, again, we just melt the chocolate this week. Again, make sure the base of the bowl isn't touching the water. And I like to add some cream, maybe a tablespoon of cream to the 100 grams of chocolate. That just makes it easier to pour over the profiteroles at the end, or the eclairs. So we're just going to whip the cream then, and you just need to whip this until it's stiff enough to hold its shape. So that'll take 2 or 3 minutes. So you want to get the cream to reach soft peaks. And be careful you don't over whisk it, or you'll end up with butter and buttermilk. I'd say we're there. Okay, once it's able to hold the shape of the whiskers, it's done. So that's fine now for filling the profiteroles. And now we look at the chocolate sauce and see how it is getting on. So we'll come over to our pot and see the chocolate and cream are melting. So we just have to wait now for this to liquefy, and then we'll start filling the little profiterole shells. So when these are completely cold, take a nice sharp knife, cut them in half, and you'll see they're completely hollow inside. So now we're going to fill that with cream. Now you can add vanilla essence to that cream, or you can add sugar if you like. It depends on taste. And then we're going to cover these with some chocolate sauce. So if you want this, more liquid, you can add some cream to it. And we'll add those to some that we've already prepared. So you can serve them individually for people, or you can serve them in a stack like this. And this is actually typical of what would be served as a wedding cake in France. They just stack up a huge big tower of mini little profiteroles. So that's maybe our version of the French wedding cake. So just continue on filling and coating in chocolate. So there's our chocolate profiteroles from this week. And the only difference between profiteroles and eclairs is that eclairs are a log-shaped version of the choux pastry, but the profiteroles are just as easy to do. You don't have to be messing with a piping bag. So hopefully you'll make some of those and upload some photographs for me to show me that you've achieved that challenge, and that's a life skill for you. But I think you're going to get the wow factor if you produce those on any occasion for any audience that you're feeding. So good luck with that, and we'll see you next week.